Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Propagandacast with me, your host, ImperialDane, and we're here straight from Company Heroes 2 again. The open beta has begun, and that means I can actually begin casting Company Heroes 2 again. There was a close server stress test, but I couldn't actually show that off. But with the open beta, no holds barred, we shall be going in fully on here on Kholodny Ferma. A 1 vs 1, but apparently now also a 2 vs 2 map here for Company Heroes 2, set in a small desolate series of farms in the middle of the Russian winter. We shall be watching WillisJerry fighting for the Soviet Union, fighting for the 210th Guards Rifle Division. Opposing him shall be ImperialDane, that cheeky sword, rolling out for the 23rd Panzer Division. Pioneers heading up here, and in fact we're also seeing a pretty aggressive move towards the centre here from WillisJerry, initially hoping to secure the central munitions point. In fact, the only munitions point on this map. Conscripts adding in, and Grenadiers also marching out here. So far, so good. Except for me, since I'll be off to a slightly less well starts, and of course you can hold up quite nicely there in the centre. Grenadiers taking up position by this small farmhouse, opening up on the combat units as they stand out in the bleeding open, pulling back towards my pioneers, which is of course rather threatening my pioneers and thus my further capturing ideas down south. And of course also note, in fact, he's also been focusing pretty heavily on the south. I usually expect an opponent to head north towards all the victory points. Of course the few there, so of course going towards the opposite side can of course, you know, catch your opponent slightly off by surprise. And the north, all in all, tends to hold slightly more goodies in the terms of victory points. But there we go, the combat continues. Grenadiers versus the combat engineers. Pioneers have rather find themselves facing off as against the conscripts, and I of course realise that perhaps things are not quite working out as I wanted to. And I might be in some slight problem. And of course, for those complaining, well, why are you casting a game of your own, Mr. Dane? The thing is, there wasn't really much else to cast at the moment. We just had 1 day of the open beta, less than a day, and that rather leaves the entire window of possibility rather closed. That combined with the fact that a lot of the matches were pretty rubbish stomping matches, as well, there's a lot of new players in, players who haven't really played the game, and which also means there's considerably less large pool to draw from good replays. Of course, as the days pass on, we hopefully will see some improvement there, but of course feel free to send in your replays, but again, no guarantees they will be casted. Andy here up in the building there, watching over the centre and the munitions, which I have now secured. For the time being, the conscripts trying to run away, but the MG42 catches them like a very bad case of the common cold. And more Russians pushing out there. In fact, we're seeing 2 combat engineer squads out here for WillisJerry. We're also seeing the Special Rifle Command up, with the promise of the scout cars, snipers and penal troops. And there's been a considerable change since the closed beta. That is, no longer will units place other units in terms of doctrine. They'll just be call-ins. Personally, not a huge fan of this change, but there are plenty of others who quite like it. I just think it rather misses the opportunity to do some fun things with the game, of forcing players to make some actual tactical decisions. And I hope this is not too loud, but again, some people complained previously things were too not loud enough, and so I'm trying to this, but of course it's a bit hard for me to hear as well. But anyways, Grenadiers fighting here versus another combat engineer squad, and we are finally seeing here that WillisJerry is really heading in towards the north, whereas I'm taking a slightly more cautious approach. Grenadiers moving northwards was the lightest MG, much better than the one in Company Heroes 2. Also note my build order here: 3 Grenadier squads, 2 heavy machine guns, whereas we're seeing a slightly greater mix here from WillisJerry, a few conscripts, a few combat engineers, and then quickly moving on to the scout car. Definitely a bit different. And again, I mean, what the Soviets have an advantage, again, they have a much larger diversity in units, what they can do, what sort of strategies they can pull off, and that's only been further enhanced with the latest changes, that is, again, calling units. Sniper team marching in a pair of very floppy hats. They intend to take on the vile fascist conscripts here, running into an awful lot of problems as several heavy machine guns bear down upon them, And the Grenadiers have a few shots as well, and we just see that the entire central road is littered with the dead, except for poor Fedorov here, who makes one spirited run for it. But shoring up with a nice front, MG also slowly advancing. Conscripts moving up, supported by their sniper squad, their scout sniper squad, and Fritz took a bullet through the head. MG though adds in a bit as well, and also taking up as well at this very moment. Though my pioneers at the front, so I can't really do much with that for the time being. MG crew getting sniped, very unfortunate there. Need to be careful. Trying to rifle grenade, that is one of the way to try and get the snipers and finish them off. Basically again, a rifle grenade, what I prefer, but we're seeing a second scout car moving in this time though with a flamethrower engineer squad, and immediately pouring on fire on my grenadiers. Trying to panzerfaust it, but the MG needs to get over and likely will not, due to again it takes some time to pick up, and there we go. 50 caliber through the stomach, pretty much finishes off those poor bastards in the north. Grenadiers versus the combat engineers, and we do see WillisJerry sort of slowly inching forwards his M3A1 light scout car, American built. In fact, most of the Soviet transports were American. That is trucks, scout cars, half tracks, jeeps, largely all American. Which was rather one of the reasons they could pump out so many tanks, because again they pretty much had the Americans supplying a large, well, everything else largely, and even then the Americans had to supply them with a few tanks as well. Grenadiers moving up here again, trying to catch those bleeding snipers. Never been a huge fan of them, but they are considerably less powerful here in Company 2, since they can't walk around out in the open invisible. Bit of light firing going on here against the scout car. Grenadiers needing to get out of there. Again, so far my initial strategy is mostly following, well, the lower part of the map, then slowly inching towards the north. There we go, one sniper went a bit too close, shot in the face. Grenadiers get off a rifle grenade, getting one poor conscript, but the grenade is going to slowly push back as the conscripts surge forward. Fire pouring forth as well. Slight FPS drop as we get something with the blizzard. That's also something that happened with the latest version. Hopefully that will also be a bit fixed. And there we go, stealing the MG42. Well done there by WillisJerry. Less well done by me again. I was a bit too cocky there, a bit too confident. But we are seeing a scout car on the way, die leichte Panzerspähwagen, followed up by a squad of ever stoic Panzer Grenadiers. And still 2 minutes to go before we have to take a more proper look at WillisJerry. Points being secured there. And there we go, scout car out. Can be upgraded to the 222 with the addition of the auto cannon, which also considerably drops its effectiveness against infantry though. Troops reinforcing. Sniper once more moving up. We do see here that Mr. WillisJerry has been pushed back a bit. We also see a few nurses have been provided to provide some healing for his troops. And now in fact seeing him going straight for the support weapon Campanella. He does not actually push for tanks, which is actually quite interesting. Usually you would imagine him doing that, but no, not for WillisJerry. It's a bit rarer to see Soviet players staying for the longer tier 1, but again, always a possibility if you're feeling confident against me, or feeling that he perhaps needs the field gun. Scout car rolling up, hoping to catch a few Bolsheviks out in the snow. There you go, the Panzer Grenadier squad with the Sturmgewehr 44 assault rifle, first of its kind. And there we go, the combat unit is running into a bit of problems as the scout cars tear into them. But we do see the arrival of conscripts, which rather means the scout car needs to get out of there. But very aggressive play from the Soviet player, what we like to see. Very much what we like to see. And as of course we're the guys facing it. Panzer is going to sneak up here, trying to hit them from the flank. Sniper's moving down there. He might in fact be getting a bit too aggressively as I'm planning actually to move up here. I'm expecting the snipers to be up here, since that's where I last saw them. I didn't think he'd be that aggressive with them, but he's apparently running a sort of small capturing train. And there we go. In fact, he's setting up his sniper slightly awkwardly. In fact, I could cut them down the retreat. Though, of course, I will as always try and get off a rifle grenade first. Which largely works. Vasily down, and there we go. Ivan took one as well. Now there's only one conscript squad left. That was a bit of a blow there, in fact, to WillisJerry and the 10th Guards Rifle Division. Guards being more of a sort of honorific applied to a division, less than a sort of special designation that received special training and equipment. Though they were apparently supposed to get better equipment, there's some doubt to if that actually happened, so I'm not going to be going too deeply into that. Also note, he's gone for Guards Motor, which really benefits from those latest changes of calling units, since you then get the ability to call in the heavy mortars, Guards Infantry, and the T-34-85, but you call in 2 pairs, which basically means you have to pay a lot, but then again you get 2 of these tanks. Again, in theory you can do it without even building a building. So Guards Motor really became a lot more attractive after that change. But beginning to gain some map and some traction now. Field gun on the way, the SIS-3. 23rd Panzer Division securing most of the map. Flamethrower squad moving up to hit the MG crew in the building. Nicely done there. Scout car though swiftly on the way to move that up as well. And there we go. Though we do see a very well locked anti-tank grenade actually doing some nice stuff there to the scout car, damaging the engine. There we go. Company is trying to retreat, but they're likely going to get down by all the automatic weapons, the Pioneers and the Panzers. There we go. Flamethrower tank bursts into flames as well, and my Panzers need to be careful they don't burst into flames as well. MD crew, they're quickly summing up a further advance from the Panzer gunners, denying me the ability to pursue his retreating troops. Well done there. Though something tells me that was not the original intent from WillisJerry. The 3 field gun moving up, and field gun meaning it was not just meant for blowing up tanks, it also worked as artillery. In fact, that was a concept the Germans actually were also impressed by, and in fact basically made a converted pack design called the Feldkanone, which was basically a Pack 40 which could also be used as artillery. So sort of fun stories, and basically the 2 armies actually learned a lot from each other, technique wise, but also in terms of equipment. Lots of things were basically either, slightly copied, or basically outright nixed and stolen, basically, more or less. The 120mm mortar being a good example of that. The Germans pretty much said, yeah, this is pretty damn good, we'll just copy this design and just use it. Grenadiers moving up, Veteran 2, light machine gun might want to support up. Southern front very open. In fact, we could perhaps see WillisJerry push down there. Rifle grenade going off, not quite doing enough. Flamethrower is catching a few grenadiers on fire. Scout car pulling him back, trying to be a bit cautious. Grenadier squad in the church. Panzer grenadiers moving up to support. Schnell vorwärts. Well, of course, these conscripts are doing their best to deal with the fascists, but not quite having any success. Conscripts moving in. One grenade almost gets the company squad, by the way. Note Veterancy 2. And also, of course, note in the game, for those not aware of it, you can actually see here by holding down over the stars what sort of veterancy bonuses you get. Companies moving, conscripts moving in, grenadiers moving in, scout car slowly pulling back. Very close to Veterancy 2, by the way. Also, I've gone for Festung support, and I've called in a light mortar half-track. Not entirely sure why they went for the light variant, though. Medium would have been a bit more impressive, but there you go. A mortar half-track, a bit more mobile, quick to follow up. Plus, of course, just like the Panzer Elite 1 from company reviews, it can also drop in some incendiary rounds.
Gun here.
Field gun playing a bit passively, and the Tankovi battalion command going up. And he's moving up, scout car pulling away. Mortar half-track moving up, realising there's nothing going down there. I'm moving up to support the front. And of course the Guards infantry moving up there, equipped with the DP-28 machine gun, which you can actually check there. And a pair of semi-automatic anti-tank rifles. Grenadiers with light machine guns doing what they can. Mortar half-track blasting away. Getting another poor bugger, and there we go, the MG42 just tearing into the Guards troops. Might have been a bit too confident there. You usually get, when you got a light machine gun, you do not want to be marching up close to your opponent. You want to get to medium range and then fire away. But my Grenadiers here were in this case able to hold out. Panzer Grenadiers moving forwards again. I really should consider getting a medic bunker, but spoiler alert, I won't be getting throughout this match. That was definitely a very poor choice on my behalf. But it's slightly negated by a slight change there's been to German veterancy for infantry. Instead of getting the mark target ability, they now get the ability to heal the other troops. And there we go, I'm actually going for relief infantry. Basically going to be a bit aggressive, going to soak up some damage, try to minimize losses. Another anti-tank grenade, which in this case actually assaults in veterancy 2 for my scout car, making it harder to damage. Five grenade goes off, conscripts moving up, pioneers need to get the devil out of there. Grenadiers holding up, conscripts moving up, mortar round takes out one poor devil. And incendiary round goes off right there on the Grenadiers. Grenadiers trying to get off a few more shots, but Fridolin and Franz catches on fire. And of course we still got the mortar half-track. And we also see a squad of Osttruppen arrive. From the rear, a bunch of Hebes. Hilfswillige, as they were known. And there we go, incendiary round managed to do absolutely nothing except make the road slightly less cold.
There are no cowards here.
So a bit of quiet again. We do note here that, I do believe it's actually time for the mid-game analysis, but we do note that Mr. WillisJerry has been pushed back somewhat. But current situation, of course, is he's been pushed into a slightly smaller quadrant, but also, I mean, most of my defenses, as you may note, oh, they actually fixed that, so you actually can't tell whose game it is from the minimap, because in the previous game, if you actually paid attention when I ever brought up the minimap, if you couldn't actually see one half of the army, again, that usually meant, yeah, stuff like this, but now we can actually see full force disposition. Bloody well done, Relic. But as you can see, my forces are much more disposed towards the north. Also note, Panzer IV moving in. Ooh, lovely feature, really lovely. They've actually quite improved this. Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, I'll stop going on about it like a maniac, but again, as you can sort of note, most of my forces here disposed towards the north. A southern push, which he could perhaps push towards fourth, would really cause me a lot of problems, would force me to again divert forces from here towards there, and could open up for more proper counterattack. So he should really consider looking into that. And of course, while he could just continue pushing up here, that would definitely be more to my advantage, in particular with the addition of the mortar half-track, the Panzer IV Osttruppen moving in, which is basically less grand infantry. In fact, they are technically worse than conscripts, but they, on the other hand, level up much, much faster. For me, on the other hand, I basically need to, keep up the pressure here, try to eliminate the opponent from here, but I also need to consider, fortifying the rest. I could consider laying down bunkers with machine guns, making it harder for him to just sneak in some infantry. Mines could also be a possibility, and I could also, of course, also just consider taking up further. And of course, he's also got a Tankovi battalion command, so getting some tanks would probably not be an all bad idea for WillisJerry either. But let's return to the fighting as it continues. Guards are pouring some engineers here, who become much more accurate, and they also become considerably tougher. Which means these combat units are definitely going to be some right down bastards for me to deal with. And another appearance of relief infantry as the Osttruppen move in. Panzer IV moved a bit up close here, trying to deal with the infantry, forced them away, but quickly got hit by a anti-tank grenade. I knew that would happen, but in this case I basically risked it, since, well, I basically figured I'd be a bit clever, or at least I thought I was being clever, by trying to just force them away, cause them a bit of a shock. And because it wasn't comfortable moving my Panzer IV in there. Knock that off, Hans. Out of the way. Panzer's taking up position. Osttruppen squad took some heavy losses. Those flamethrower units have been proving themselves useful. Grenadiers flanking in with a light machine gun right there. Guards infantry took a huge loss right there from a well-placed mortar round from the light mortar half-track. And again, it really doesn't make sense, since the light half-tracks were supposed to be reconnaissance units. And there's nothing else that really indicates that. Well, Panzer IV not well positioned. We are seeing the anti-tank gun firing away. Need to get that Panzer IV out of there. Scout car moving in. Panzer Grenadiers. And Grenadiers moving in, but getting flanked here by an MG42. Nice coverage. Nice coverage. And anti-tank grenade knocks out the Panzer IV. That was definitely very foolishly done by me. Could in fact buy him time. And there we go, the MG continuing. But also note the conscripts manning it are dying of the cold. Of course, I've still got the scout car, which is doing surprisingly well, considering everything. Also, minor engagement up here, conscripts pushing through and in fact pushing away my grenadiers, opening up for more fuller offensive down south, and additional field guns have arrived as well now for WillisJerry and the 210th Guards Rifle Division. Scout car here spotting and sensing an opportunity, flanks the anti-tank gun. And there we go, clears it out. 10 kills, 11 kills. MG going to get cleared out. And then the mortar half-tank knocks it out. God damn it. So yeah, that's pretty much a wreck.
Enemy forces are capturing our supplies.
And moving up a considerably large infantry force somewhere. There's more Osttruppen are being added. Got 2 squads of them by now.
300 points stand between us and defeat.
And there we go, we do see that WillisJerry's making a harder push for the south now. Lovely to see that. Good approach, opening up for more part on that again, forcing me to spread out my forces. Also pulling back my Osttruppen as I realise there's a guard squad trying to flank them. Field gun firing into support there, lovely. Good job. And field gun out there recruited by a few Osttruppen. Who knows, some of them might have been crewing them before they were captured by the Germans.
Where do you need us? Enemy infantry.
Guards, troops and companies running into a bit of problems there. Looks like the company has lost a flamethrower, which can actually happen now, by the way. And there we go, guard troops on the retreat. And the MG42 once more repositioned. Again, WillisJerry shifting the positions. But... And another sniper now, another sniper. Not entirely sure that's going to have so much of an impact now. Small counterattack moving into the MG. Ostrom going to take up position in the house so they at least have some sort of durability while the Grenadiers lead the more frontal assault. Veterans free, by the way. They are definitely going to be much harder to deal with. Field gun, conscripts moving up, sniper moving up. WillisJerry launching in a larger infantry assault. Incendiary grenade right at the Osttruppen. Vladimir rather sadly falling victim to it. Sniper actually spotted, one went down. Probably had not intended to encounter a Grenadier squad trying to flank his own MG. So technically my MG. Faster, more rifle grenades going off. Conscripts or Osttruppen once more taking up position inside the house. Firing down upon the now veterans of free conscripts as well. And basically, I mean, except for Veterans 1, Soviet troops basically always gain more and more durability, whereas with the Germans it's considerably more, well, segmented. Basically, you know, first they gain durability in form of being slightly tougher to kill, and then they gain some accuracy. Conscripts versus Osttruppen here. Osttruppen definitely not doing too well against Veterans 2 conscripts, and they quickly leg it, running right past the house here. Also note, nice little detail, they now run with the weapon in one hand when they're retreating. Stu holding up the centre. The 3rd Panzer Business decides to supply a bit better. Grenadiers moving in from the north. And anti-tank grenade going off there in the Stug. Guards troops arrive. Field gun, interesting enough, moving very slowly up. In this case, allowing the actor to flank with a Grenadier squad and some pioneers. Osttruppen in dire need of reinforcement. Mortar half-tank continuing here, firing now from this very nice small area. Veterans 1, which gives it access to the counter barrage ability, which basically allows it to, well, if it spots anyone else firing artillery, it will fire back at them. So further intensified fighting. Panzergunners running into a bit of trouble here. Again, keeping that MG42 nicely positioned near the front and also close to Veteran 2. And the field gun all alone up here. I'm sure they don't mind.
Pioneer squad.
And incendiary around here, catching the MG crew, just as I'd hoped. Sergei also catching on fire by the looks of things.
The enemy is taking our territory.
And a smaller Ostrov enforcement down south. While it once more looks like Mr. WillisJerry is pushing towards the north.
That's it. We're ready first. Stuck here. Yes. We're under Soviet attack. To the sector.
Grenadiers versus the conscripts. Bit of mortar rounding going off there. Snipers moving up to support as well. Mortar half-tech being forced away. Close to Veteran 2, by the way, which would definitely make it a shame if it was lost.
Don't let them flank us.
And the field gun is in fact getting flanked by the snipers. And I think the Stug might have hit the mortar half-track a bit there.
I suppose you have orders. The enemy is attempting to steal our sector.
And we're finally seeing a few T-34-76s being sent up to support.
Squad under attack.
Guards, rifle divisions advance.
Enemy forces are securing our territory. Squad.
And that causes me a bit of a problem since I currently don't have much to stop that with. At least not in the nearby area. Stug, though, is quick to move up. Snipers hiding in a crater, lovely. Guards continuing north, and we're seeing a very intent, of course, focus here to securing all the points. Stug moving up close, very, very keen. A bit too reckless there by me, though. And bun grenade, not really doing much. In fact, looks like they blew up one of their own rather than the Guards infantry, which is definitely never a good sign. And there we go, down to one Panzergrenadier squad, though gains Veteran 2, which is small comfort, very small. Second Stug on the way. And Grenadiers getting over right there, but also gaining Veteran 3. In fact, there's a lot of veteran troops right here on both sides, which is always a good sign. Second Stug moving up, Grenadiers holding up. And there we go, Veterans who on the mortar half-track, increasing weapon damage. Stug moving up. Stug missed. And not very uncommon, that I fear. Sniper moving up, getting a few kills there on Heinrich. And a second T-34-76 arriving there for WillisJerry. Stug getting a bit too close and getting anti-tank grenaded. And a few Osttruppen hiding there as the T-34 rolls not far away from them.
Good work, Osttruppen. We have taken it for the Germans.
Good job, Osttruppen. We have taken it for the Germans. Absolutely no sarcasm there. Pulling back the Stug, as I do come to realise again that it's a bit exposed. It could, be quickly cleared out. Looks, he hasn't actually crewed this field gun, which actually is a bit odd. At least in my perspective.
Half-track
It looks a bit odd.
Look here. We are losing the sector.
Looks slowly advancing up there. Stug moving up there. Other Stug need repairs. Can't do that right away. And there we go. Engagement goes in. Sniper close by but can't be seen. And T-34 rams the Stug.
Our 7.5 centimeters destroyed.
Still moving up there. Another sniper team. I think WillisJerry might be going for the right things. Wrong things, not the right things. There. Stug being pushed forward. Pack moving up. And we're seeing another T-34 moving in. We're also seeing the field gun up. We're seeing conscripts moving in. Pouring everything he can on the Stug as it is disabled. Lovely, lovely. Stug goes down. Field gun got the kill.
Our panzers has been destroyed.
And there we go, T-34 down. Grenadiers and Panzergrenadiers fighting in the north versus Guards and Company Units veterans free, by the way. Lovely job there by WillisJerry. Both sniper teams are rhyming, but I fear that might be a bit too much. Stug rolling away, Panzergrenadiers flanking about here from the rear, catching the veterans. Two MG crew out in the open. Osttruppen following up here. Grenadiers moving in there. MG crew barely doesn't get away. In fact, looks like the Osttruppen got the kill there. Panzergrenadiers quickly following up. Having attacked there from the north. Going in after those snipers. And veterans of fleet. Conscripts moving in. Panzergrenadiers got the snipers. And I'm hearing reports of artillery trying to move the conscripts. Osttruppen closer to the conscripts, but they of course take some punishing damage. And a Molotov goes off as well, lighting several of them on fire. And we see here that WillisJerry has been taking some rather unfortunate casualties there. In fact, I do believe it's time to return to him. And rather interesting, he's not been making very much use of his doctrine except for the Guards infantry. I mean, he's not, for example, trying with a heavy mortar to try and support his advance as well, providing some bombardment. He, for example, could have been using that quite nicely here. I mean, around my strong point, that would have been a considerable problem for me. So that's actually quite interesting. And again, pushing towards the south with what remains. In fact, he's got a bit of this and that. Whatever's left does have veterancy. And once more, the Osttruppen and Panzergrenadiers are ready. They mesh awfully well together compared to the Grenadiers and the Panzergrenadiers, by the way. Probably also because the Osttruppen actually end up looking better equipped than the Grenadiers at the moment, which I do feel is a bit awkward. Pushing in towards the south, want to secure the victory point. That of course is a good move. Admirable, in fact. Admirable.
Fresh meat has arrived. Engineer standing by. Incoming ship command.
And there we go, Grenadiers quickly getting sniped, but looks like one of the snipers actually went down. And there we go, nice Panzerfaust on the T-34. And a bit of smaller movement towards the south as he continues to roll it up, because again I have not defended it again. That was well done, but again he probably could have done more with it and constantly been sending someone down there to do it for him, because that would probably overall benefited him more than what he currently did.
We are ready.
Ready for visit imminent. T-34 crude loaded and ready.
Quickly crewing the field gun once more. And another Veterans of 3 Grenadier Squad for the Reich.
The territory is in our hands. Our territory is falling into enemy hands.
Riflemen ready.
And of course the question becomes, what sort of doctrine could have benefited WillisJerry more? Well, perhaps, you know, the Guard combined arms doctrine, very similar, but offers instead upgrades for his conscript with submachine guns and other fun bits, which probably would have benefited him more than, you know, the current one, which he largely has only used because of the Guards infantry. Of course, those are just my thoughts on the matter.
Waiting for your command.
New unit. Is it? Loaded and ready. Guard squad. The enemy has taken our supply sector.
So a bit of quiet. And there we go, T-34 ready once more. Victory point down there being secured.
We're under attack. Guard squad ready.
What's a very nice amount of details on the armour now.
Enemy forces are neutralizing a sector.
Do you need something?
And now he actually gets my field gun with his own field gun firing in artillery mode. That's... I hadn't quite expected that one, to be honest. Probably should have. And there we go. Game over. Huh.
We have failed the Rodina. We have failed ourselves.
Yes, you have failed yourselves. Well, another feature, I suppose. But let's actually view the battlefield as, you know, that was the point. Anyways. Game over right there. Probably not the fairest of matchups, I admit, but they'd had something going on for it. We did see some interesting things. We also saw some flaws we could point out, and more importantly, it was not just me bashing the head in on some guy, which was really what I wanted to try and avoid. Of course, I made some mistakes as well, some grievous mistake. I was a bit too cocky with my armor several times. That was really poorly done by me. And I again probably could have done more to defend the south. Again, I probably should have considered at least a machine gun bunker here or some mines. That would have made it much more difficult for WillisJerry to harass down there. But the mortar aftertech turned out to be a well and nice choice. Other bits did as well. For WillisJerry again, the question really become, did the doctrine choice really matter so much for him? It largely didn't, because again he didn't ultimately use very much of it. Had he changed that, he would probably have benefited a lot more than there were all the snipers, when he probably could have used it more on infantry, and he was very much struggling on infantry throughout the match. Had he perhaps, you know, considered more infantry, he'd probably also been able to lay down some better pressure. There was also the failure to recruit his own field guns, and some, you know, unfortunate tendency in there, and then the lack of overall harassment down south for longer periods of the game. I mean, there were some really good ideas, but there were also some problems, which ultimately allowed me to much more easily gain the upper hand and ultimately win the game. So there you go, the first Courage 2 open beta match. Of course, I hope to have something much more riveting, exciting, fantastic tomorrow, but I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something from it. If you did, why not subscribe, tell your friends. If you didn't, well, why not send a replay of your own? Provide some feedback in the comments. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter. Anyways, this is ImperialDane saying cheers.